this is Fred Freed, and welcome to my video on solo pianistic jazz guitar. You know, when we think of a jazz piano player, or any piano player, we know he's got a left hand, maybe playing comping chords, playing a bass line, an independent hand and the right hand playing a melody, an improvised line, any combination of things, because there's two independent hands, and one hand usually is not restricted by the other. Guitar, not so easy, but we can do similar things if we know the proper techniques and different ways of going about things. So that's what this video is about. I want to get right to it, but first, let me just say that this is an 8-string guitar. I have a low A under the low E, a high A over the high E, but for the most part, I'm going to lay off of those strings so you can, it's a little, so it won't be so confusing. Also, recently I posted a video of a great standard, Here's That Rainy Day, by Jimmy Van Heusen and Johnny Burke. And I'm going to be referring to what I did on that tune to demonstrate this pianistic approach. That said, we're going to take a lot of side trips because one thing is going to lead to another, but I think it'll all be interesting and hopefully it will be useful. Let's get to it. Here's That Rainy Day. I did it in the key of G, first two notes being D, the fifth of a chord of a G major 7. And by the way, if you see a lead sheet that says something like G major 7, it might say G6, it might say G6, 9. That's all good. It's all, for our purposes, interchangeable. As long as it's not a dominant chord, you can play any of those chords, so don't be restricted by what it says on the sheet. Okay, what I did on this tune was I came up with a little intro, which was very simple and triadic, but very pretty. There's a G triad voiced third root fifth. I went to an E flat triad, same thing. B, A flat, which led me with that motif into my first melody. Maybe. So I wanted that intro, that the beginning of the tune of the first bar is very simple. I'm not playing any major sevenths or anything. Root 5-3, but it comes from that intro, which I think is very, starting out, it's very pianistic and elegant. Okay, but if you're just looking at the sheet and you see G major 7 and your melody note is D, your first impulse might be just to go 2 chords because the melody is right there. Nothing wrong with that, but there's nothing particularly distinctive about it. I don't think a piano player would just go bum, bum. Maybe he would, but let's think about other ways to go about it to set off the melody. Namely, here's one way. Just play the melody and answer it with the chord. Now, it's prettier. It makes more sense as opposed to. So, maybe a line. Maybe some double stops. Realize with a G major 7, you've got a major 7 and a third, meaning the F sharp and the B together. Those are fourths, so, right? There's that, a bass line up. And this is gonna require a little bit of technique and thinking about what you want to hear. One thing I'll keep getting back to, we might as well talk about this now, is when you come to a chord, try to play the top note of the chord first and then bring your fingers down when you want to sound the rest of the chord. In other words, this will have implications as further as we go along. But why do I do this? You might say, well, why don't I just keep the fingers down and do the same thing? You could do that, but I think the more you do this, the more you're going to think more about your individual voices. So you bring down your fingers when you're going to sound them. More about this later. The next few notes of the tune are just a B-flat triad. Right? So that's, the chord is B-flat, and it's 3, 5, root on a B-flat. There's a major 7. I think it may have been written as a B-flat 7, which is fine. What I chose to do is play each melody note along with a 10th under it. So a 10th under that D is a B-flat, which is the root of the chord. Then the next melody note is F. 10th under that is D, which is the D is the third of the chord. And the next melody note being a B-flat, I'm going to play a 6th, the G 10th. So I have this. So that's pretty nice in itself. I did it a little nicer. What I did was I added for those 2 bass notes, I put a scale step ahead of the next note. In other words, then I continued that line upwards. So I have this is what I'm talking about when I'm starting to sound pianistic. So here we go. The next chord is an E-flat major 7. Those leftover dreams, right? So I'm playing an E-flat major 7 up here. This is, right, if I'm playing a 6th string, it's your E-flat root on the 11th fret, your low E string. And I'm playing an actual E-flat 6th, root, E-flat C, the 6th, G, which is the 3rd. And my melody note is a D, the major 7, up top on your high E string. Why am I doing this? Listen, here's a perfect 5th between that 6th and the 3rd. And I'm going to play a succession of 5ths in that in the chord. There's my melody. So those are all 5ths, and it's a very effective method. I'm going to be doing that in other situations. So one of the keys here is to hold your melody note as long as you can, or let it fade away. Like I like to say, when you've got a melody note, we're not a horn player with a constant stream of air, so we can't sustain it like a clarinet or saxophone. But I like to say, let the note die a natural death. Don't kill it. Meaning, keep your hand down or keep your finger down no matter what you're doing. So that 5th, that 5th, that 5th, and then I'm ending on a tritone because I'm implying becoming an E-flat 7 because we're going to an A-flat major 7. And here we go. Now this A-flat major 7, it's common voicing. You can play 1, I'm on my A-flat on the 11th fret, 1, 3rd, 5th, major 7, 3 again. Nothing unusual here, but what it allows you to do, if you play it this way, I'm barring the 8th fret with my first finger, you can play the outside notes and then work a line upwards maybe. Any line you like. Or you have options. If you can hold a note and then answer it, or play something nice that to go with it. or to go under it. Here in here, I'm playing, or you could have played that A flat major 7 with a sharp 5 to make it a little more mysterious. Whatever you like. These are, this is not meant for you to go, oh, grab my guitar, let me try that. Fine, but just let the general idea sink in. You have choices. You can think about what's going on. I always look at a chord, see what can I do here. Okay? Next, we're going to go, that's an A minor. And listen to what I'm doing here. I'm putting a little inside line in here. Whereas my bass is going to go A, F, E flat to D. Not so I'm not playing diatonic, but here's my inner line. So I have okay. So on the H string, by the way, I'll add some some of my low string occasionally. Might whet your appetite if you've been thinking about maybe playing a 7th string. That same passage with your low string would be. Okay, now we just have here's that just a D7 arpeggio. But listen. So what I'm doing is, here's a D on your 6th string, F sharp on your 2nd string, and I'm just while holding, I'm arpeggiating upward from the root. 1, 3, flat 7 at the same time as your 5th, which is a 6th interval. Another 6th implying E flat, a flat 9 on the D7. But instead of going to thinking D7, I'm going to make a left turn and make that into a B7, B13 flat 9. And I'm going to go instead of to G, which it, as the sheet would tell you, goes to G. I'm going to the relative minor, E minor. It's not such a big deal. I think, I think the Harmony police wouldn't even give you a slap on the wrist for that. But I just ended in his E minor. Now here is something interesting. I'm taking a little harmonic side trip, a little excursion, which doesn't have much to do with the tune, but it doesn't mess it up at all, and it's just pretty. So I just added it. I went E minor, A over C sharp, F sharp minor, to B minor 7. So I went, there's that. So I landed on a B minor 7th, and for all intents and purposes, that's our tonic. Think of it as a G over B. And while I'm there, I'm going to add some, remember I just talked about fifths, why not? I go with what I like, what you want to hear, what sounds nice. Now, obviously, you're going to play these tenths. Did I say tenths? I'm sorry, fifths. You could play tenths too. I'm playing these fifths. They have to be practiced, obviously. You got to be able to see them and play with the fingers of your right hand. If you're playing with a pick, by the way, this can be done with a pick. I prefer fingers. It allows me to pick and choose which strings I want to hit when, but anything could be done anyhow. If you want to use a pick and fingers, fine. Okay, I just landed on my B minor 7, did a little bit of business. Okay, now, one beautiful part of this tune is it now goes to the minor 4 chord. We're in the key of G. We're going to C minor 7th. Tears that rainy day we bum, bum, bum. But, so it's just really 2, 5, 1 to B flat. You could have gone after that B minor or after the G. If you're going to go to a C minor, you can go by way of 2, 5. You D minor something, the G7 something. I don't want to get into that right now. That's simple enough. But so I was on a B minor 7. I just went up to my C minor. Now here's something interesting. What I did here. The melody is E flat, okay. And normally, if you're playing a C minor, you just bar the 8th fret to get the C minor, get your melody note on your top string with your little finger, and there's your melody note. What I did was, instead of my little finger on that E flat, I used my ring finger, because I'm going to need my little finger. So I did a little bass line, C, D, E flat, and when I hit the E flat, I hit its third, a G. Sounds just like an E flat triad. But I made a little line. So, sorry. So basically what it is, C, D, E flat, and that's an E flat, became an E flat major, the relative major of the C minor, but then up a 4th to A flat major 7, down a 4th or up a 4th to D flat, holding that same G, making a kind of a Lydian sound, a sharp 11 sound. So basically, here's what he came up with. Oh, Fred, I did on with the low string. It would be easier. And then 5th melody note. Bass note is F, I'm going to B flat. Here's my B flat major 7. And then B flat major 7, G minor 7, B flat over D, and I'm going to E flat major 7. Don't get bothered by all that. Remember, this is just how to, different ways of thinking of how do you get there? What's in this chord? What can happen? Now, as apropos of what can happen, I'm on this very nice E flat major 7 or major 9 chord. It's not that unusual. It's just voiced root major 7, 9, major 9, 3rd. Now, in and of itself, it's a pretty chord. But look what you can do if you examine it. Okay, I have a bar on the 8th fret, so I can play a line. All right? Sounding more pianistic, or what we can do. Or notice between my major 7 and my 9 is a minor 3rd. That can move. Minor 3rds, major 3rd there. Or always examine what you're playing. Listen to the voices. They're individual singers of a chorus here. Now, that's a strange E chord because it has a major 7 and a flat 7 involved in there. I just liked it, and since it's an E, we're going to A minor 7 anyway for the next part. So here we go to A minor 7, and I did the same thing I did on the C minor. Bass note goes to B, just C, catch the 3rd. Sorry. So it went from A, B, C, F, B flat, and then my melody. Bum, bum, D melody note to my G. Let me try that again because that's confusing. So I went, and I'll do it with my low string. melody in fifths, back to G. And I came back to this G triad because I'm going to, between the first and second half, use the intro. G, E flat, B. Instead of A flat major, I'm going to go to A flat minor. I love that because now I'm going to start the second half in G minor instead of G major. This is not original with me. It's various people do it, and I just like it. Now, G minor 7 or G minor 9. Now I'm arpeggiating. Like we did the D7 earlier, I'm arpeggiating a G minor 9, holding the melody note, G, minor 3rd, 9, flat 7. Down to my F sharp minor, down to my F minor 6. Going to B flat 7. And notice I went to B flat 7 with a B flat on my low E string and a B flat on my high E string. That's not much in itself, but I have these fingers available. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run a series of thirds on a B flat chord. So, see, holding, which is very effective. So I went back from the G minor. And now I'm going to an E flat major 7, right? Something different than the first time. I'm going to E flat major 7, F minor 7. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4 of an E flat scale, harmonically. F minor, G minor 7, A flat major. With the H string, I did a little, a root, fifth root. And then on the A flat, I did a little business, where I said before, look at what you can do when you're holding the note. So what I did was, and I'm not going to get into that, but it's just what you can do. Think about, or just play a line, as before. You've got to train your fingers too. See, both hands. Okay, then we did this before. D arpeggio. And now once more, instead of G, I'm going E minor and just doing a cycle. A13. D minor 7 with a 6 there. Any line you want, we're going to C major. Notice we can play a line just because we're holding this basically as a G sus. If I felt like it, there's a G7 with a augmented flat 13. But now we're going to C major. I'm playing this now, not an unusual C major 7 voicing, but now I'm going to, instead of the D7, I'm going to a D over C, little pedal, right? And then da da da, I voice that in tenths. So where you might have just a throwaway line, da da da, do something with it. I went, there's my B minor 7, ba da da. What I did was F, I'm sorry, G major 7, F6 9, and now E minor with those fifths. And then for no real reason at all, because other than it sounds good, see, I went to a C sharp minor with the fifth. So, or, and now I'm just going to go 3, 6, 2. I'm coming home, but B minor 7 with a line going up to the E minor. E minor. But basically E minor. Nothing special. You know this, C over D, or. And we're into the tune, whatever turnaround you like. Pianistically, you could go. So, things to keep in mind. Okay, we talked about the fifths. We talked about not coming down with your fingers when you want to sound them, even on a minor 7th chord. If you're playing like a A13, you might instead, you've got that, right? But maybe you decided to just slide down from the B flat 7. So as you need your fingers, bring them down. So try with any chord. I got to give a lot of credit, mucho credit, to George Van Epps, with whom I studied, and who considered the guitar, he called it a lap piano, and that's how he thought of it. And through various intervallic exercises like tenths, or 6, which included left-hand and right-hand exercises like teams of fingers, thumb, middle, first, third. And it gives you greater harmonic mobility to do what you want. So, other things to think about. Here's an A minor 7. Very often we're taught to play it with our 2 middle fingers like that, right? If you play it with one finger, you've got a lot in front of you where you can. You've heard a lot about also, shell voicings, thirds and sevenths, which pretty much, in most tunes, will indicate the harmony. A third and a seventh kind of tells you what the chord is. And on guitar, it's really nice because we can do this with 1 or 2 fingers. An E minor, if we just played a D and a G, that's our flat 7 and minor third of an E minor. And going to an A7 is nothing more than the D going down to C sharp. But a lot of, this is common knowledge, but if you can use 1 finger or 2 fingers, you can emulate or simulate a piano's left hand, which I do all the time. So in the case of Here's That Rainy Day, there's 6, we're going up, hitting a melody note, then come down with your chord. Sorry. So on and so forth. The more you work at this, the better you're going to get. Obviously, the more you practice it. So it takes. You look at a chord. What do you have in that chord? What are the intervals and where can they move? This G major 7 has a 6 between the major 7 and the 5th. Maybe that's a point of departure. Or diminished chord. You can play diminished minor thirds up a diminished scale. I stole that from Bill Evans, as I did the fifths, by the way. 6 on a minor chord. These are just little suggestions, ways to think. Or tenths. You can outline this whole tune. Tenth. I'm combining stuff. Hold a note. You move your chord. This is just going to a D7 here. Here's my chord. I'm going to go on. I've gone on long enough. So I hope I've given you some information and things to think about. If you find something that you like on the guitar that you say, well, this could really develop into something, well, develop it into something, keep at it. If you find something, work it till it becomes your own. So I want to thank you for watching this video. What I might do is next one, if you're people who are interested in the 8-string guitar or 7-string or 8-string, I'll explain more of that, because a lot of people think a 7-string is just enables you to play bass lines, and that's the main advantage, but there's a whole lot more. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching the video. I enjoyed making it, actually, and I hope I see you again soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.